Hey, what's good guys? It's TSG, and today we're going to talk about the differences and similarities between Pokemon and Illuvium and what I think the future has in store for both IPs. So in today's video, we're going to talk about Pokemon, which I'm sure needs no introduction. But for those who don't know, Pokemon is the highest grossing media franchise in the world. Starting in 1996, it's generated $110 billion worth of revenue. And today we're going to talk about its role in the development of Illuvium and how it inspired the most hyped GameFi game of 2022. So we've heard in many AMAs that the main inspirations for this game Illuvium were in fact Pokemon and teamfight tactics. TFT being the auto battler side, and the whole idea of collectability, the collectibles, the monsters battling each other, going out to explore, to catch, that is obviously heavily inspired by Pokemon. Kieran has mentioned in the past that him and Grant were super addicted to Pokemon, collecting the cards, playing all the games, and of course it's pretty understandable considering their age range. I don't know exactly how old they are, but the age range, it makes sense that they grew up with Pokemon. And essentially what they've said is they're trying to recreate that feeling of wanting to capture them all, that magic that it created, that wonder, that feeling of, yo, I have the strongest monster. And that was a big inspiration for this game and what they're trying to do here as well. I personally think it's a great thing to be inspired by. Just the fact that most of us did grow up with Pokemon in some way, whether it's the TV shows, whether it was the cards that we collected and traded in schools, whether it was the video games that we played, whether it was Pokemon Yellow we started with or later on. That idea and that feeling of being someone going on an adventure, capturing things, learning about things, trying to fill out a Pokedex, trying to just learn, that is an amazing idea. But now with the fact that NFTs have come into play and we are able to own them, the fact that most of us are a bit older, so the idea of finances and actual capital, the fact that we can own it and put it in a marketplace and things like that. So I think that idea and the inspiration of Pokemon, this definitely seems like the next step forward. So yeah, considering that Illuvium has obviously been inspired by Pokemon, there are a lot of similarities, but also a lot of differences between the two IPs. So today we're going to go through them and break them down step by step and see what are the similarities and what are the differences. So we're going to start off with the biggest and most obvious similarity, which is the basic premise. The basic premise for both games is that you as an individual are going out into the world for an adventure and you come across monsters. What you do then is battle them, catch them, train them so you can battle other people. And by taking the time to train them and strengthen them, you yourself are able to develop your own strategies, your strengths. And that's what it's about. It's about showing off that you have the best strategies, you have the best strengths, you've thought of the best tactics that no one else has, counter battling and things like that. So that is the basic premise and obviously the most obvious thing, similarity between the two. The second fundamental premise of both games is the idea behind collectability and collecting them all. Pokemon has the catchphrase, gotta catch them all. And what that refers to is the Pokedex, is that it's an encyclopedia where it has all of the stats, all the information. It's an encyclopedia of all the Pokemon. And the concept is to go out and capture them all. Illuvium doesn't have that as a main goal per se, but the idea is still you have something called an Illuviary, which acts as a Pokedex, and you're out there trying to, I'm sure most of us, me personally, I do, my goal is to try and capture at least one of everything and fill that out. So it might not be a specific, this is the goal of the game, but I think inherently, being a collectible game, most of us are going to want that, whether it's for a reward. I'm considering it now, I'm quite sure they will offer a reward if that is for a fully completed Illuviary. But if it's not even for the reward, I'm sure that those of us that do want to have that completed will do it just for the flex and just to say, yeah, look at me, I have all of them. So it's the same feeling as going to school with a binder of Pokemon cards and having every single one. It's the exact same thing. Before we continue, I did notice a lot of people watching aren't subscribed. So if you are finding this information, these videos helpful, informative, and you just want to see more, please, please, please subscribe. It's completely free and it helps me out a lot. Alright, so now that we know the basic premise for both games, we can go through some of the vocabulary that they're familiar with Pokemon and go through their Illuvium counterparts. So as you can see on the screen, on the left we've got everything Illuvium related, on the right we've got everything Pokemon related. So the first thing and the biggest thing is, what are we going to call the monsters? We know that the monsters in Pokemon are called Pokemon, and in Illuvium they're going to be called Illuvials. So all of the monsters that you see, they're called Illuvials. There's a side thing, like part of the lore, that is still kind of kept secret about these huge Godzilla type beings called Leviathans. All we know is that they're called Leviathans, and if you look at some of the leaks, you can see these massive bone structures. So maybe that might come down with a future game, something like that. But for right now, keep it basic. The monsters in Illuvium are going to be called Illuvials, Pokemon. The second thing, the object that we use to capture these monsters in Pokemon, Pokeballs. In Illuvium, they're going to be called shards. So the same way in Pokemon, how you have your Pokeball, your Great Ball, your Ultra Ball, your Premier Ball, so on and so forth, pretty much rising in tiers. Essentially, they don't call it tiers, but that's what it is. Illuvium's going to have a similar concept in regards to, they're going to have your tier 0 shards that are going to be used for tier 0s, tier 1s, tier 2s, tier 3s, tier 4s, tier 5s. I'm quite sure you're able to use higher tiers on lower tier Illuvials. So for example, if you want to catch an Atlas, which is a tier 1, if I'm not mistaken, with a tier 5 shard, you are able to do that. Why you would want to waste a tier 5 shard is no idea. Maybe you just want to have an Atlas with a tier 5 shard. Completely up to you. Going back to what we said before about the whole collectability aspect and building up that encyclopedia, in Pokemon we know that the encyclopedia is called a Pokedex. In Illuvium, it's going to be called an Illuviary. On their website, there is a certain part called the Illuvidex, and a lot of people get confused with Pokedex and Illuvidex. The Illuvidex is going to be the decentralized exchange. So that is not going to be the Pokedex equivalent. The Pokedex equivalent is the Illuviary. So that's going to give you the stats of who's the first person to catch that Illuvial and put it in there. It's going to go through all the stats of lore, just different things like that. Or the same thing that the Pokedex does. It's just going to give you that encyclopedia insert for those Illuvials. So something that we see in Pokemon are types. The types are you have your fire, your earth. Is it even called earth? It's called grass. Fire, grass, water, electric, so on and so forth. So those are the types in Pokemon. In Illuvium, on the other hand, we're going to have something called affinities. So as you can see here, in Illuvium, we have 20 affinities, and Pokemon has 18 types. So this does play a part in the battle mechanics, which we'll talk about a little bit later. But again, just for the concept of vocabulary, so you have types in Pokemon and affinities in Illuvium. So the 5 basic affinities in Illuvium are your earth, fire, air, nature, and water. And then there's different combinations which make things such as magma, spore, inferno, tsunami, things like that. So that's what makes that 20. So there are the 5 basic, and then there's combinations which make everything else. So another part of the Illuvials in Illuvium compared to Pokemon is that these Illuvials actually have classes. You're going to have your tanks, your fighters, your supports, things like that, your healers. So that's going to add another layer to the battling mechanics compared to Pokemon, where it is very type reliant. Like the fundamentals is just about types. Whereas in Illuvium, that you've got your affinities and your classes. But again, there's a little section a bit later where we're talking about the battle mechanics, so I'll leave that to then. The next thing we have is the name for our special moves. So in Pokemon, we've been exposed to things like Z moves in Sun and Moon, and Dynamax moves from Sword and Shield. And now in the new Legends Arceus, they have agility and strength style moves. So Illuvium's ultimate move for each Illuvial is going to be called its Omega. So throughout the battle, you build up that Omega bar, and you are able to unleash that Omega skill that you have. And each Illuvial is supposed to have their unique skill. And finally, for all those people that really want to go out there collecting, shiny hunting, in Pokemon, shinies. We know what they are. They're different colors. Shinies are where it's at. And in Illuvium, the Illuvials aren't going to be shinies per se. What they're going to be is they're going to be hollows and dark hollows. I believe Grant did let slip that there is going to be another one on top of that. So you have your hollows, which is your basic, your dark hollows, and then there is a special type of hollow. I'm not sure if they're going ahead with that, but I know it has been discussed or something has been mentioned about that before. So all of this vocabulary are the ones that I personally have thought about and spotted out. If there is anything that I've missed out or got wrong, please let me know in the comments below. I can edit this or just leave a pinned comment, whatever it is. But yeah, if anyone does find something that I've missed or they think is super important, please let me know and I can see what I can do there. Also, a huge shout out to Arash from the Illuvium Discord, the moderator from the Discord. He's the one that put me onto Dumb Player 2, which I believe is also another mod. He's posted a pretty much an encyclopedia of Illuvium, and that is where I got some of this information from. So I'll put that in the link down below. Okay, so now that we've gone through the similarities and the details of the vocabulary, what we're going to do now is we're going to dive in deep into the differences of the two IPs and how they differ and what that means for the future of both IPs. In my personal opinion, the biggest, most obvious difference between Pokemon and Illuvium is their battle mechanic. So Pokemon, as we all know, is a turn-based battle game where it's I make an attack, you make an attack, I make an attack, you make an attack. We understand what turn-based means. Due to it being so simplistic and turn-based as it is, the whole strategy behind it does rely heavily on type matchups. So if I know that you have a fire team, for example, if I stack mine with water, there's a very, very high chance that I'm going to win. And there are small things like passive abilities that do make it a little bit more deeper, but overall, the battle mechanics in Pokemon are not very difficult. I mean, us as kids were playing it and we were understanding it. So I think it is a very dumbed down, very simplified game mechanic to make it accessible for everyone. So now if we compare that to Illuvium, where the battle style is not turn-based, but it's an auto battler. So all of the thought and the strategy comes into the board placement and your alluvial selection. So it's not, oh, what are you going to attack with? Oh no, I'm hit, let me attack you back. It's, how am I going to foresee this 10 steps ahead of what's actually going to happen? I see you place down an alluvial, I place down mine. Where am I going to place it? That's going to play a part. Then you see that. How are you going to counter that? You place a tank at the front. What am I going to do? Am I going to focus on that tank or not? So that's where the depth in Illuvium comes from. So in regards to the depth of the battle mechanics, already on the most basic level, it being an auto battler and the way it plays, Illuvium is a much more in-depth, more strategic game. I'm curious. I don't think it'd be a game that's super accessible for kids. Like for young kids, I mean, like 7-8-year-olds. Who knows though? It is a game in the crypto universe and the GameFi universe, so whether kids are having access to that or not is a question. But if there are 12-year-olds killing at the game, I would love to see that happen. It would be pretty crazy. So once you just even understand that concept of the auto battler compared to the turn-based system, then with Illuvium, you need to take into account the classes and what that means. What class is effective against what class? If you have a tank, what is the best way to deal with it? Do you, if you have someone who's a fighter or a support, do you ignore the support? There's so much depth that can go into this, and it's crazy. How many supports do you have? Things like that. So it is going to be a very, very deep game. So you've got your classes to consider. You've got your affinities. Like I said, 20 affinities. And with your affinities, you have things such as steam, which is fire and water. So two opposing affinities matched together. So what that does for the meta, and because if you have a fire and a water, you can't just pick a fire and a water because it wouldn't be that effective. So it is interesting to see how that meta is going to play and how deep it really goes. So I am not a strategic expert, to say the least. But if you do want to find someone or watch someone and learn more about this, I seriously recommend Najaf Plays. I'll link him down below. Have a look because he's going to go through strategy in a much better way. Deck building. I know he's working on a couple of deck building videos. But yeah, go support him if you are into that kind of more strategic competitive play. I will try get into that type of content, but I know he's definitely the #1 guy right now. Okay, the next big difference after the gameplay mechanics and the battle mechanics is the visuals. I don't need to go into the fine details of, oh, look at the quality of the grass. You can have a look at these two images right in front of you right now, and you can see the difference. Yeah, I'm just not going to spend too much time with that. But one thing I do need to, again, remind everyone that one game, Pokemon, one IP, is the highest grossing media franchise of all time, earning over $110 billion in revenue. This is what their latest game looks like. Compare that to Illuvium, which, as of recording this right now, the market cap for Illuvium is $365 million, and its fully diluted market cap is $5.7 billion. So again, just think about that. Pokemon revenue $110 billion. The revenue for Illuvium is close to zero. They've done a little bit with NFTs, but nowhere close. Their fully diluted market cap is $5.6 billion, and the difference in quality is absurd. I personally have no idea how it's still okay that Pokemon hasn't taken that huge leap forward, considering other Nintendo franchises like Breath of the Wild, which again, compare Breath of the Wild with Illuvium. I think Illuvium still wins. But considering what Pokemon is, I don't know how much longer they can go not progressing with leaps and bounds and progressing at this pace, and how that's going to be for the future of the IP, if it's going to be taken over, or if someone's going to take the lead. I'm not saying Illuvium is going to do that 100%. I'm just curious. How long can Pokemon really keep doing this? We'll just have to wait and see as time passes what really happens and how it all plays out. My bet personally is on Illuvium, but we'll have to wait and see. Moving on, another big difference is our ownership. The idea of ownership in Pokemon compared to Illuvium. Illuvium being on the Ethereum network and everything being an NFT means that we have ownership of it. What that means, very base level, is if I want to gift it to if I own an Illuvial and I want to gift it to someone, if I want to sell it on an open marketplace, it is mine. If I want to move it to another Illuvium Studios game, I will have that ability to do so. That NFT that I own is going to be mine. Whether the Illuvium goes away or not, or I stop playing the game, that NFT is mine. In my opinion, this is very different to everything we've experienced previously in video games. The best way that I can explain this difference is this. Imagine spending 100 hours shiny hunting for the best EV IV Pokemon that you can. So you're trying to not just get the best EV IV Pokemon, but you're also trying to get that in a shiny. So that's going to take hundreds of hours. I don't know if it's going to take hundreds of hours, but it's going to take a very long time. But let's use 100 hours for example. So the reason you want to do this is, one, you're a competitive player. So the best EV IV is exactly what you want to even have a chance in these competitive settings. And you want it to be shiny because you want to flex. Imagine having an actual competitive Pokemon that's also a shiny. When people watch your games, whatnot, they're going to recognize that, oh, this is the guy with that shiny Pokemon that plays competitively. So the problem with Pokemon, or the current way of playing games right now, is once you're done with that game, all of that time that you would put in, the only thing that you're really going to get out of that was fun. And I know it sounds absurd saying that getting fun is not enough anymore. But what I mean by that is, so you've just put in all of this time, and it's very, very difficult for you to take away the thing that you would spend all that time on and convert it back into fiat currency if that is what you want. You don't have that freedom or that choice to do that. And if you do want to do that, it's very, very difficult. What Illuvium offers, and what I think the change in games are going to offer, is if you would put in that same 100 hours in Illuvium, holo hunting, trying to get the best statted dark holo that you possibly could to make it competitive viable, plus to show off competitively, at the end of that, if you decide to sell that on the open marketplace because you can, compared to Pokemon where you can't, the fact that it's a, one, dark holo increases its value. Second, the fact that it's the best statted of that Illuvial increases its value. Now you put those things together, the value of that is incredibly high. For anyone that does want to get that, you have the ability to put it out there and potentially trade that time, that 100 hours you would put in, to get back some fiat currency if that is what you wish. That is a huge, huge difference from what we've been experiencing to what we are going to experience, in my opinion. I'll speak about this from me personally. I am very, very busy. So I rarely, to be honest, don't play games anymore. Just because that trade-off of me putting in my time for getting nothing but fun is very difficult for me to make right now. So I started Pokemon Legends Arceus, and I played it for about 5 to 10 hours. And I just can't finish the game because apart from the fun that I get out of it, there's nothing. Like for me, that time to fun trade-off is not a good trade in my personal opinion. Whereas with something like Illuvium, I know I could trade the same 10 hours and possibly get something which I could trade back for money if I so wanted. Which in my mind makes me want to play that game or be okay with that trade. To me, that seems like a more fair trade than trading it my time, which I think is the most valuable thing that all of us have, for nothing but fun. And again, I know it sounds crazy that I'm saying that because fun is important, but I'm not saying Illuvium is not going to be fun. That's the thing that I'm trying to get across. That I think the future of gaming is going to be trading your time for fun plus ownership, which means potential capital. And I think that for all of us, that once those two options are there, ask yourself, if you had an option where you could play for fun, and you had an option where you could play for fun and make money, which would you choose? Alright, I know this video is a little bit long, but to wrap it all up, I want to make it very, very clear that I am not a Pokemon hater. I just said a few minutes ago that I did start playing the Pokemon Legends Arceus game. So I am in no way at all saying that they're a bad company at all. I've played Sword and Shield, I've played Legends Arceus, and regarding Legends Arceus, I do need to give them a shout out. I do think that they are moving in a much better direction, but like I mentioned before, I think they're just moving at way too slower pace. So the direction is good, but the pace is, man, they are snailing out here. So for me, as someone that actually grew up playing Pokemon, I grew up with Pokemon Yellow, Pokemon Blue, Pokemon Stadium 1 and 2. I remember the fun memories I had with my brother and my friends doing the mini games, the spinning tops, the catching the egg as Chansey, the Magikarp flopping, the EV dashing, and we'd faint. We'd faint to get the thing in the middle. Yo, those were good times. I grew up loving Pokemon. Pokemon Snap. I remember my mind was blown when my homies showed me that on that beach level, you turn around and you find the Kingler. Like all the secret Pokemons, the Articuno, the Zapdos, the Moltres, how to unlock them. Yo, that was unbelievable to me. I loved the Pokemon game. And that first time that my parents bought myself and my brother a Game Boy Advance. I got Ruby, he got Sapphire. Like I had a lot of good times with Pokemon. But unfortunately, I just feel that as I grew, Pokemon didn't grow with me. And it's a shame because I just feel like they've stayed stagnant, or like I said, they're just moving too slowly. It doesn't seem like they're inspired anymore. They kind of do what works, and they haven't done much to change it or really expand or explore new ideas or anything like that. So it is a bit of a shame. That's why personally, when I found out about Illuvium, I saw what I saw and I learned about the game, the gameplay, the similarities, the differences when it comes into the whole finances and the investing side of things. That magic that left me as I grew with Pokemon all came rushing back. And I realized I could go back into a game, explore, want to do this, have ownership of all of my things, all of my creatures, have that real bond. Imagine the bond that you can have with Pokemon if you physically own them. Now think about that same feeling with Illuvium. We're going to own our creatures. Imagine the feeling of that first Illuvial that you catch. Are you going to sell it? Personally, I am not. Personally, I'm not planning on selling a lot of my Illuvials, but that first one is going to be sentimental because it's yours. This is the first time in a very, very long time that phrase, Pokemon so beautifully coined, gotta catch them all, actually means something to me. The only thing is, it's not in the Pokemon universe now. That phrase I'm now applying to the Illuvium universe. My goal is to try to catch them all, and I really, really am very interested to see what the future holds for both IPs and where they are in the next 5 to 10 years. Alright guys, thank you so much for sticking around. If you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, hit the notification, comment. Do you agree, disagree? Where did you get into Pokemon? Did you play Pokemon? Just let me know. Just start a conversation down below. I reply to all the comments. But yeah, thank you guys so much for sticking around. I appreciate all of you. I hope I can keep adding value to the community. I'll see you guys later. Peace.